Module 3, Key Concepts, Mind-Body Connection. Let's talk about the mind-body connection and why we work on emotions for physical issues. Now we know through Western medicine that stress does affect the body, so there is a mind-body connect. I don't know if anyone would argue that at this point, but what people don't make the connection about is how incredibly connected they are, and in ways that you wouldn't expect, and on levels that you wouldn't expect. Here's an example that I love from one of my earliest clients. We only had 2 sessions together. This fellow came in and he had a problem with his back. He'd been in constant chronic pain for about 2 years, and he'd seen a doctor, a chiropractor. He definitely had some physical damage, which he was quick to tell me about. But he thought that he was willing to try anything since he was in pain, so he came to see me. So one of the first questions you ask as a tapping practitioner is, could there be an emotional contributor to this pain? Could there be anything emotional connected with this? And his reaction was an emphatic no. Of course not. This is completely a physical thing. I damaged my back at work and it's constantly aggravated because I carry a heavy bag with the work that I do. As part of what I do, it's physically intense. It's an ongoing damaging thing to my body, so it's completely a physical issue. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I didn't push it. I didn't think it was important to do that, but my sense was that there was something else in there. So we continued working on it, and some of the tapping helped in the first session. And we worked on some other things in that session. In the second session, I found out that he was really unhappy at work. Aha, he was profoundly unhappy at work. He hated his job, and he felt trapped. By the second session, he was open to trying to tap on that feeling of unhappiness at work. So what was really neat was that when we tapped on his unhappiness at work and kind of unraveled that a bit and looked at it more in depth, and as he cleared more and more layers about how he hated his job and why and what was behind that, lo and behold, the back pain lifted. It completely lifted. So all that time, he didn't think there was an emotional factor or that there were any emotional contributors to his back pain, but it was pretty much all emotional. I'm not saying that there wasn't a physical connection or actual damage, but sometimes physical damage can be exacerbated or held in place by emotions. Here's what happens with physical issues and why tapping can really help even when it's an actual physical issue. So let's say you've had a car crash or some kind of accident. Now, even if you don't have a broken arm or broken leg, or you really damage something, here's what happens with physical issues and why tapping can really help even when it is an actual physical issue. So let's say you've had a car crash or some kind of an accident. Now, even if you do have a broken arm or broken leg, or you really did damage something, yes, there's a physical thing. You don't go and tap on that instead of seeing a doctor. But you could use tapping to help speed the healing process, and tapping has a role in other parts of it. Let's say I see that person 6 months or a year after the accident. So often you see someone 10 years later, and they still have a sore back or sore shoulder or some part of their body. They suffer from some kind of ongoing pain connected to that trauma. There are a lot of factors that you can tap on that are emotional, even though it's a physical problem. The most important one that I found, at least in my practice, is the actual trauma from the accident itself. So unless you've tapped on that or done some kind of energy release work to get that shock out of your system, that can be a very important contributing factor that keeps the pain in place because you still have that shock in your system. It tends to lock things up, so you can tap that out. But I have to add, my biggest caveat with tapping on a big issue like that is to not tap on that yourself, especially if it's a big trauma. You've got to work with an experienced tapping practitioner. So there's the initial shock, and then there's the feeling of, well, did that person cause the accident or did someone else cause the accident? Well, if they caused the accident, they may have a lot of guilt, a lot of anger. They may have a lot of emotions about being the cause of an accident. Or they might be really angry and unforgiving about someone else who caused the accident. So they are all emotions that you can tap on. Those might be holding everything in place, all the pain. It may be what is blocking the natural healing in their body. If they're still angry at the person who caused the accident because they still have back pain, guess what? That back pain is probably not going to clear up until they clear on that person. So that's another part, the shock, the cause of the accident, and then there's the aftermath. Dealing with insurance claims, the frustration of dealing with institutions and hospitals, the payments of things, maybe the financial hardship and any stress or strain it may have put on family or friends, kids. All of that causes emotional strain and stress. So that could still be in there and it could be stuck in place. So going back and clearing out all those parts and pieces, all those aspects of the original accident that really have nothing to do with that physical thing itself, all will help you get your energy system back in the groove so that it can heal itself. Because if you have something stuck in there on top of the physical thing, then there is that obstruction like we talked about in traditional Chinese medicine. You have all these other blockages in your system. When you can unlock all of those, you can really let your body start to heal itself. Even if you have old injuries, sometimes when you release everything around it, your body goes to town and it starts healing things. And those things do sometimes take time because now you've released all that tension and stress from your body. Sometimes it even takes months for it to show up. Wonderful things can happen when you start tapping and are persistent with it.